Hi friends and welcome back in. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I hope you guys are having a fantastico day. And notice I have a little fall decor has made it, portion of it has made it to the mat. Not all of it. I had pulled my Halloween stuff, guys, and all my fall decor. I have some really fun fall decor. I love this time of year. And just by even being in the tub from last year and it just being out or whatever, it's in the kitchen, it's on the counter, and I need to just give it a nice glossy finish and wipe things off. So it'll at some point make it to the mat, but at least I've got the little leaf lights are out, so they are here with us. Welcome to fall. And my friends, we are continuing our quest right now in design inspiration. Well, I am anyway, with Autumn's Embrace, my September Sparkle Bag. Today, my friends, we are going to make a beautiful pair of cluster earrings. These are stupendous. I love, love, love the way that these turned out. And what I love about these so much is can you notice how it's so hard sometimes when you're trying to lay them flat, but notice how they kind of cascade the three colorways. That I love that, and that's completely intentional. So that's what we're doing, and I'm making these to complement the bracelet, the cluster bracelet I made last week. I'll pull it up in a second, and then I just popped a wire wrap loop on the top and bottom of these two beads. We're gonna make our own ear wires to go with these today. So fun, and it's really minimal supplies, and it's more bead heavy today. Let me show you that cluster bracelet. If you didn't catch that video I made last week, was this guy right here. And so I'm pretty happy with the way these are going to complement. So I did put that burgundy in there to pop back into the bracelet, and I think it's just gonna complement this bracelet so well. So these I am making to complement my beautiful cluster bracelet. So that is where we're going. Let's go through materials and supplies. Minimal supplies, maximum beads on this one, my friends. So first things first, what I am using from the bag is the 4mm rondelles in the two-tone salmon and the tomato. Okay, and I'll give you a count when we're done if you want to make something similar. But you really can make these as full as you want. You really, really can. But I'll give you a count of what I did to come up with the way that this one looks. So we're using the 4mm, and then again, I'll tell you how many in a minute. We are going to be using the Unikites, the 6mm, the gloss finish ones. So you have the 6 and the 8mm, these are 6mm Unikite gemstones, and then I'm using just one of the burgundy 6mm rondelles for each earring. So everything is ×2. So for one earring, I am using 8 of the tomato, 8 of the two-tone salmon, so 8 and 8, and then 1 of the burgundy, and I'm using 5 Unikite. So you would times that for 2 earrings. The other thing I'm going to do is use that twisted jump ring that we got, and then your paperclip chain, my friends. So cool. I mentioned it when we were working with the cluster bracelet. This is great chain. Nothing has to go to waste. That's why I love it, because all of the links open, and we can get more projects out of our chain. And so that's what I have here is just one link of the paperclip chain. And then of course that twisted jump ring I was just talking about, which opens, right? So we've got that. And then I'm going to be using tons of ball-on head pins. So basically there's only 2 beads we are not going to need a head pin for. So that would be 8 and 8 is 16, plus another 5 would be 21. So 21 times 2 would be 42. So 42 ball-on head pins. And again, you can really do that as full, or, you could even just do half of that, or you could even put more if you want. So quite a few head pins. And then some craft wire, friends. I'm using some beautiful Parawire 22 gauge today in gold. And that is a copper core that is tarnish resistant. That's the wire I'm using, 22 gauge. You can use any gauge you want, really, that you're comfortable working with. All we're doing is a wire wrap loop. Or if you have some long, like 70mm ball-on head pins, you could do a wire wrap loop on either end of those as well, because we're just going to do 2 beads. So you will cut just a small, maybe, 3-inch or so piece for each earring. And then we're gonna cut one additional piece to make our ear wires today. So 3 small pieces of your crafting wire. And let me do that right now so that I can get that off the mat. So I'm gonna grab another piece here and let's start right there, shall we? And then I'll pull over the tools. Just warm that up a little bit. And let me just cut a piece off here. Really don't need that much. About like that. Okay, fine. Let me put that away. And so let me start with our ear wires. So usually I just cut about 2 inches for my ear wires, so we'll do just that. Let's get started here by cutting that piece of wire, and we'll make our ear wires. So my tools I'm going to use today, friends, we're going to, of course, use some good cutters here. And then we're also going to use the one-step looper. It does make it go much faster. And we'll use the bail making to make these ear wires. And then we will need our chain nose on standby or your round nose, either one. I find when I'm using the one-step looper, I'm always having to tweak my loops, but it does most of the work for me. So that's okay, but I do always either have my round nose or my chain nose or both on standby, simply to tweak your loops on the one-step looper. So I've got my 2 2-inch pieces of my 22 gauge here. And now I'll go ahead and just grab my 6-step. And I'm going to put that in where it's a little off center. Okay. And then we will use the largest bail on the top there, that 9mm. And I'm going to just go ahead and pull that up and around. You can do any kind of ear wire you like. So we've got that like that. And I think what I'll do is I think I'm going to do something a little different. Let me do one at a time when I'm pulling in my loop here. I'm going to pull in my loop to where it's going to be a little bit more secure. So I'm going to pull this loop in using the smallest bail there until that wire touches, right? And then I'm going to go right below that loop, and I'm going to turn that in one more time. And so then you wind up with that right there. And that'll help to secure my little cluster. So once again, I'm gonna go, I'll pull you in a little bit. I'm gonna put, I cannot speak, guys. My wire's gonna go right there at the end of my bail making. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn that in using the smallest bail until that loop touches the inside of that wire. Okay, and that's what you've got. Now I'm gonna just turn it around like this. Put my bail making right in there again with that smallest bail on the top. And I'm gonna put it directly next to that loop. Okay, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this in until it touches again the inside of the other part of the ear wire. Okay, so pretty much that's what you've got. And there we go. And now I will grab my chain nose and just take that edge and kick it back a little bit there. And then we will file so we don't have any sharp edges. Okay, my friends, I am done with my trusty file. Put that away. And so I've filed my edges nicely. And now I am going to take my chain nose and I am going to push this to the side. So this is facing the front, so it would be off center. Okay, so just like that. And I'll do the other one as well. And we'll just turn it to the side. And now we can open that loop just a little bit, and I'll just feed my earring on there, let that fall down in there, and then we'll just push that back in a little bit there. So that should keep that nice and cozy down in the bottom there. And so there we go. Okay, friends, so the one-step looper, I like to do assembly line. And we can work from the top up or the bottom up. It does not matter. I worked from the bottom up. So there's many ways that you can assemble your earrings. You can open and close your links, or you can open and close your loops. I found it better to make all of my wire wrap, or all of my simple loops on my one-step looper. That's what I did. Assembly line format. And then opened the link on both my piece of chain and my jump ring, and then fed them all on. That's what I did, okay? And then I attached my wire wrap loop at the top. So that's just exactly what we're gonna do. And so lots of ways you can do this, but what I do, friends, is I will literally put, these are the only two gonna get wire wrap. I will literally put all of my beads that need to go on one-step looper. I'll just feed everything on the head pen. And then I can just pick everything up. And again, just assembly style. It's just makes it go faster. And we just have 4 here left to do. Or maybe more. 1, 2. Oh, this one's done. Okay, just 4. Okay, and so again, I have 8 in the tomato, 8 in the two-tone salmon, and then 4 of the 6 millimeters that I'm putting on the ball and head pins. So we will use our one-step looper. So now I will just go ahead and put my wire in until it exits the other side of the tool through the hole. I'm going to make sure that my jaw is right up against my bead, and we're gonna just be careful to not crack the bead. So we're gonna close that. And as I'm closing, I like to punch that back just a little bit with, on the bead, and then we'll remove, and we'll fix them when we're done. But at least I can just get like everything kind of cranked out quickly here, and my assembly line. So I'm kind of working with like one tool at a time. And last one. And I am now done with my one-step looper. And we will get rid of those scraps. Okay, and now what I will do is I will go in with either, you can go in with either your chain nose and make sure all of your loops are closed. So you can either rock them in with your chain nose or your round nose. It's whatever you want to do. Now, because these are kind of a cluster, I find it easier to use my round nose. But if you're going to use your chain nose, just take that end of that loop, right, and we're just rocking it in, right, to where it's nice and closed there. We don't want any gaps. So there we go, that's done. And I'm gonna grab my round nose for the rest, so I'll just kind of go in and pull all my loops in to where they're all closed. Again, I find it easier with the round nose. But again, at least, you know, the one-step looper does most of the work. So that's a biggie. When you're making a whole bunch of these. And I don't care what the loops look like, they're straight or not. If you want to be really particular and straighten your loops out, you can. I'm not concerned because it's a cluster. What I am going to concern myself about, though, is I am going to be feeding these on, friends, with my loops facing back on the entire earring. Chain nose to open and close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to open up my twisted jump ring here. And I'm going to feed on my, oh, my link. I need to close my link. Sorry, guys. First up, after we've done our beads, we need to close the link. And then we're going to open it back up, but I'm going to close it right now, just to feed it on there. So, oh, I just said I was going to feed it. I'm so sorry. I just completely jelled you guys. I just said we're going to work from the bottom up. It doesn't really matter the way you assemble them. It's completely up to you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to feed my loops. And again, I'm going to make sure that the opening of my loops are all facing away from me when I feed them on. Then that way that'll be the back of my earring, right? And so I'm going to start by feeding on a unikite. So I'm just going to feed the right side on right now. So I'm going to do a unikite, and then I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm going to do 2 back and forth on each side. So right now, I'm going to work on just the right side. I'm going to feed on 2 tomato, and then another unikite. And again, making sure my loops are all facing back. And then 2 more of our tomato. And that side is done. And now I'm going to use my chain nose to hold that side. And now what I'm going to do is feed on a unikite, again, making sure my loops are facing the back. So I've got a unikite, and then I've got 2 tomato. And then a unikite. Oh. And my last 2 tomato. Oops. I'll get that guy back on there. And my last 2 tomato. Okay, and now I can close this up. I think we're good. Now I am going to feed this on this. I believe it is. So we're going to feed that right on the jump ring. And now I am going to take my 8 salmon, and I am going to feed 4 on each side here of that link. So now right now this is what I have. Now I'm going to feed 4 of the salmon on this side of the link, 4 on that side of the link. And again, making sure that my loops are all facing the back when I feed them on. There's 2, and then 3, and 4. And now I need to hold this side, and we will feed 4 on this side. Okay, and there's my 4th one on that side. Now I am going to be closing up this. Now these are pretty sturdy, so you're going to have to really rock these guys. Really rock them back and forth to where you're putting pressure towards the center, right? We want to get that gap as minimal as we can. These are really, really sturdy jump rings. But just keep twisting it as you're applying pressure, and you'll get it pretty good just like that. And now, let me hold it there. Now, there we go. That's what we have. Super, super cute. I love this. Now and again, on this particular jump ring, you could probably fit at least 2 more on each side if you wanted. And most certainly, you could fit at least 2 more on the link. But I like it like this, so that's what I'm going with. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my round nose again. to do a simple wire wrap loop for those last 2 beads on the top. So we'll put in our right bend. We'll go in, pull the wire up and over, rotate the tool, and push that wire to the back. Straighten it out a little bit. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and crank open the door. And I am going to feed that right on my jump ring. Let's let that jump ring fall right inside our loop, and then we'll close the door. And now we'll go ahead and wrap that around. I just did 2 wraps on the bottom. I think I did just 2 wraps. And now I'll go ahead and trim and tuck, friends, trim and tuck. And we'll tuck that in. I need to, which I really don't. Make sure that's nice and straight. I'll feed on now my Unikite and that 6mm burgundy. All right. And then now we're going to do just exactly the same thing. Let me see, which way did I put my loop? I think I did my loop. Yeah, same way. So then we'll go and put a right bend. And then we'll come in with our chain nose and finish up a wire wrap loop here. Up and around, rotate your tool, move the wire back, straighten it out if it needs to be, and wrap that around, nice and clean. And trim. Put that in, let me straighten out my loop. And there we go. All we have to do now is pretty much pop this on an ear wire that we just made. So I will slide that up my ear wire and down into my loop. And then I'll kind of come in here. You can do it with your hands or your pliers. Just make sure that that's nice and closed. My wires are touching each other there. Should be good. It should be good. But the other thing too, friends, I never mentioned this, and I make these ear wires all the time, is that I love these ear wires because they allow for you to interchange your earrings on that type of an ear wire. I just like it. I like it because I don't have to keep making like a ton of ear wires. I just have to, basically pull that open, take this one up, and put another one on. So there we go, my friends. If I can get them to stand up right. Well, my God, you guys, these are just absolutely, I cannot even. They are not too heavy either. Let's see if I can get them somewhat. There we go. But they hang beautifully. And it doesn't even matter which way that you hung your cluster on your wire wrap loop. It literally, what direction you hung that jump ring to do that wire wrap loop, because they look exactly the same from the front and the back. So really, really fun pair of earrings, I think. Oops, got you guys all discombobulated here. Sorry, friends. There we go. There is our next project from Autumn's Embrace, a beautiful pair of cluster earrings. And I wouldn't be mad at it, guys, if you did another link and did it again. I would not be mad at you because I love long earrings anyway, but I like this. I like this for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed, like I said, and we will see you in the next video for some beadie inspiration, my friends. Be well.